got me thinking of the times we took off on the road. I can't remember where we headed that night. We were cruising around town in Memphis, running the lights. I just know how it felt. I won't forget that. Windows down and open top. But we were clever not to take it too far, though it's hard not getting tempted. Calling you up to see how you've been, 'cause don't I miss you and all those things we did back then. Way back then. It's funny how times roll by. Is it 12 years since last time? Where'd you go? What's the score? Did you find what you were looking for? I never see you anymore. I can't remember what we did that day. We were blowing off steam in Paris, but I wanted to stay, 'cause I know how it felt when we raised hell. I won't forget that. But we were clever not to take it too far, though it's hard not getting tempted. Calling you up to see how you've been, 'cause don't I miss you and all those things we did back then. Way back then. Killing time, Friday night, found a photograph of us. I can't remember what we did that time. We were spending one night in Venice. It just slipped my mind. I just know how it felt. I won't forget that. Windows down and open top. But we were clever not to take it too far, though it's hard not getting tempted. Calling you up to see how you've been, 'cause don't I miss you and all those things we did back then. Way back then. Way back then.
Do you ever feel you don't get out what you're putting in? All your hopes and efforts are all in vain. Who will pick you up when you've lost everything? Does it all become for granted with a wedding ring? Oh,
Hi everybody, I hope you're well. Thank you very much indeed for joining in this evening for this demonstration on using the Robert Sorby Pro Edge. I hope you're all well and you're all keeping safe and all the other niceties like that. It's just nearly 7:10 and the stream or the demonstration is going to start at 7:30. So until then, I've got a couple of little bits and pieces I need to do to finish setting up. But until then, please do chat amongst yourselves. I notice there's quite a conversation going on already, and I will pipe in or join in very soon. Okay. Right. Yeah, I've got some really cool, funky camera angles for you tonight as well. I've been quite excited about this. Such a kid. Right. Chat amongst yourselves and I'll finish getting some bits and bobs ready. Coffee and water, of course, are very important to a successful demonstration. Just having just a little bit of a tidy up and finding some bits and pieces to put an edge back onto. I could always grab these as we're going, I suppose, couldn't I? That would be a sensible thing. Let's find... This one's got a bit rusty, so I better clean it up. Where's that gone? Well, that's frustrating. I had a wire brush here earlier. Oh, I know where it is. I did something I don't normally do, and that's put it away. Now I think I've got about 15 to 20 second delay this evening from when I say something to when you guys receive it, or at least that's the delay from the laptop to the tablet that's set up there behind you. Do that one as well. We could do that one. Just getting a little selection of tools sorted for you so we can have a look at sort of each of them. And I'm just going to move the little comments tablet round a little bit. Whoops. I think I ate my dinner too quickly. I've got a bit of a tummy ache. Ottawa in Canada. Cool. Oh, Tubby Turn, was that you who left the brush behind? I'm not very good with names. I don't forget faces. I'm just not very good with names. I don't know this make of sharpener, but still looking forward. Oh, you don't know this make? Oh, right, okay, Steve Robbins. I hope you'll enjoy it. It's a fantastic piece of kit, this, but I'll obviously go into all the details through the demonstration. Evening from Essex. Hi Essex. Hi Andy C. Hi Maggie. Roger, is it a phone in to win the sharpening system? No, sorry. Not tonight. I can't stretch to that Tom Sloan in Delaware. Hi, Tom. Cut, sand, wax, admire. Did you sell all your stuff? The bench is empty. No, I've actually tidied it away. It's all stuffed underneath, stuffed in drawers and little cubby holes under there. That's where everything's gone. Michael Palmer in Leicester. Hi, caveman. Raul Gomez in Mexico City. Hello. South Wales. Hi, Silk in Basingstoke. Leeds, Basingstoke calling. Cumbria. Mexico. Dewey in Wales. Yorkshire. Julian's here for another lesson. Fantastic. Twisted Trees. Evening all from sunny Anglesey. Devon, Texas. Hi, Tom in Texas. Hugh Kersbergen, you've received your colours from Ronald. Brilliant, well done. Yeah, Ronald received his order in Holland last week, so that's really cool. And there's more stuff heading out to Denmark, hopefully by the end of this week. Fingers crossed, there'll be more product on the way out into Europe. France calling. Hi, Wayne. Tony in Newbury, nice to see you, Tony. Thanks for joining in again. Wyvie Woodshed, that's Andrew. I think he's Somerset way. Bedfordshire. Miss Teed's Woodturning. You made it. Cool. Julian Clifford in Folkestone in Kent. Trevor Eagle from South Wales. That's cool. Sandra Thurston. Sandra and Paul in Middlebarn Woodwork. Hi, guys. Hope you're both well. Mac Coles, thank you very much. You're very welcome. I'm glad you're enjoying them. I'm enjoying doing them too. They certainly keep me on my toes. Sunny Manchester. Heckmondwike. I think that's Yorkshire, isn't it? Heckmondwike. Oh, I can't keep up with all these comments. There's loads of them. 212 people. My word. I wouldn't expect 212 people to watch, or more even, possibly, to watch a demo on sharpening. James Cassidy. Martin, where's the hat? It's just here. It's just here, but I'm not turning tonight, and it's quite warm, so I've got my blonde locks out on show. Well, what's left of them anyway. John in Watford, Alan Smith, Dave Andrews, hi Dave, in Devon, Steve Ash, watching the finishing vid, have you noticed? Don't quite understand your comment there, Steve Ash, sorry. Les Taylor, hi Les, Adam Jackson. Hi Dara. Philip Greenwood, hi Philip, thanks for joining in this evening. I hope you're well, and I'm pleased to see that you've got your network card and stuff sorted out. If anybody's interested, Philip Greenwood is a registered professional turner like me, with many more years experience than I, and he's going to be doing some regular live stuff on YouTube. I think it's a whole beginners series. So if you head over to Phil's channel, just do a little YouTube search for Philip Greenwood, you'll be able to see him there. He's doing a few live videos and stuff over the next few weeks as well. So if you could pop over there and give him your support, that would be awesome. Twisted Trees, good thing with this demo is I have the front row view, so did 200 others. Evening Michael Stratton, nice to see you Michael, I hope you're well. Peter Fuller, made by LJG Woodcrafts. Heckmondwike. Brent Beecroft, hi Brent. Les Simmons, hello Les, how are you? The Tiny Turner, Emma, hiya lovey. I hope you're well. Oh, Steve Ash, yes, you've noticed an improvement. Sorry, I didn't quite understand the your previous comment there. Brilliant. Cher Kruger, thanks for the show from South. You're very welcome, Cher. Thank you very much indeed for joining. What time is it? 20 past nearly. Ba, 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 ba. Sorry if you can hear me drinking. So we've got about 10 minutes before the actual demonstration starts, with 218 people watching. That's amazing. I've got two different camera angles for you tonight. One is from here and one is from just up here. I think you can just see the camera just at the top there. So I should be able to give you a really nice view of exactly what's happening on the Pro Edge here, and I've got a few nice little overlays and stuff for you too, which I hope, well, I'm sure they will be, well, I hope they'll be useful to you, just showing you the various bits and pieces. Jennifer Stroughton, sorry, watching from Doncaster, fabulous. David McClernan, Woodturning and Cry. Hi David. David, you are in the Republic of Ireland. Wow, there's JP Woodwork. Hi Jamie, how are you? Thanks for joining in. I think Emma the Tiny Turner as well, she's doing some live stuff on her YouTube channel too. Emma is an incredibly talented turner and she's well worth a watch. So Emma, if you well, obviously you'll hear me. If you want to just leave a comment and tell people what you might be doing on your YouTube lives and stuff. I think you're live again on the 11th, I think it is, something like that. And Philip Greenwood, could you also do the same? Just leave a comment, perhaps a link to your channels, so people can click on the link and go over across and subscribe to you. And I'll read it out as well when I see it. Florida, Howard Haverstock. Stephen Walsh, West Sussex. Hi Stephen, thank you for joining in this evening. Hello everyone. Hope all is good. All good here, Patrick, thank you. Adam Jackson. So far my Pro Edge has been a revenue engine for Sorby. Can't wait to see the tips for sharpening. Paul Straker, you're very welcome. Cool. Emma, you're very welcome. I hope you get loads and loads of viewers. I'll be tuning in at some point. I'll have to watch the recording because I'm doing Saturday, sometime on Saturday as well. Alan Rose got the same system, but not used it yet. Ooh, okay. I hope you pick up some tips tonight then, Alan. That's the idea. Patrick is in Michigan, USA. That's cool. Right, 8 minutes to go. 235 people. Wow. For all of my lives, I've been absolutely blown away with the number of visitors that, or the number of viewers. So thank you all very, very much. Joseph King, hiya. Oh, picture flickered there for a minute. Dave Shorten, this may be an expensive demo. I'll talk about that in a minute, Dave. John Orton, I'm glad I saw your comment. If you send your pictures to excellence@msabensmith.com or reply to the email that you received, there was a little typo in that email that I sent out, so you can just reply to that email or just make sure you send it to excellence@msabensmith.com. Colin Ball, thank you very much. Colin, will you be sharpening some tools where the blood channel is almost finished? Colin, I don't understand what you mean by blood channel. Andrew Pike, hi Andrew. Yes, we're all good here, thank you very much. Yeah, we're all enjoying our lockdown. Although, as I've said in previous demonstrations, I don't see many people that often anyway. So I very rarely go out unless I really have to. So it's not too different really for me. But I am seeing some differences and some changes, particularly in getting the supplies in to be sorting out Hampshire sheen and stuff. Ba, 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 ba. Patrick McNeish, you love the videos. Oh, thank you very much, Patrick. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Brian in Florida, USA, another one. Stephen McElligott, thank you very much indeed. Nice to see you, Stephen. Thank you for joining in. Oh, the flute. Oh, yes, I'll talk about it in a minute, but I have a whole sort of small array of tools down here that I'm going to be showing you how I sharpen them, but obviously I'll talk about that as the demo begins. I've not heard it called a blood channel before. I think if I had my sense of humour switched on, I might have actually caught on to that, but I like that, the blood channel. Terence Johnson, yes, I'm hoping to get up to Staffordshire in July as well. I'm really hoping that all of this kind of dies down before then. Carol Baxter, thank you very much. Thank you, Carol. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining in this evening. I hope you find it useful. I'm all good, thanks, Gary Jones. Right, I'm just going to go and make sure that everything is absolutely fine, so I'm going to play you a short musical interlude for a few minutes, and then I will be back when we can crack on with the demonstration. So I see the time as 7:25 just at the minute, so I'll be back in a few minutes.
The stars driving down the boulevard at night, playing Coldplay on repeat, watching people on the street as I go by. And it doesn't even matter to me where I go, I just feel I need to take a ride. Got my coffee cup to go, and I'm gonna hit the road tonight. Now my wheels in motion and my windows open with the wind blowing in my hair. I'm driving down the highway, gonna do this my way. I can feel it in the air. Here I go. As the sun goes down. No, it doesn't even matter to me where I go. Just feel I need to take a ride. I don't know when I'll get back. Keep on going and relax tonight. Now my wheels in motion and my windows open with the wind blowing in my hair. I'm driving down the highway, gonna do this my way. I can feel it in the air. Here I go.
Right, I'm back again. 2 minutes to go, and 288 people. Wow, that's really cool. But just before we get started, the same as all the normal demos, let's just run through just a little bit of housekeeping. Whilst I'm doing stuff on the machine, I can't see or read any questions, so please can you just hold off on asking questions until I ask specifically for them, and I will run through them as many as I possibly can before we have to move on. And also, firstly, a big warm welcome to everybody, of course. If you are not, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, then please do. The little button is down here somewhere, and also give the bell a little click as well, and then you'll receive a notification every time I come live, or when I upload a video. And you can find my social media links down in the description too, and if you wish you can receive the details of the next demonstration the day before the demonstration directly into your inbox if you sign up to the mailing list on my website at msabensmith.com. And the last little bit of housekeeping this evening, although I am demonstrating the Robert Sorby Pro Edge, this demonstration is neither sponsored nor endorsed by the Robert Sorby company. So I'm not receiving anything at all for doing this. I am merely doing it to respond to loads of questions I get when I do demonstrations about how I use it in particular. So it's not sponsored nor endorsed by the Robert Sorby company, and I dare say there may be a couple of them watching this evening. So, right, that is 7:30. Shall we crack on then? 302 people, good grief. Right, okay. So yeah, welcome everybody. Thank you very much indeed for joining me and everybody else from around the world for this evening's demonstration. I hope you are all well, and if you are in lockdown, you are getting yourselves out to your workshops and turning some stuff, and if you are heading out to work or doing any other kind of important care work or anything like that, firstly thank you very much, and please I hope you're all keeping safe. Right, so let's take a look at this machine, shall we? This is, let's find it, first little pop-up, ba-boom, there we go. This, sorry, I only did these today and I haven't got used to where I've put them. Right, this is the Robert Sorby Pro Edge. It's a sharpening system. I use it only for wood turning tools because they are the tools that I use. So I won't be covering the sharpening of any other tools this evening, only wood turning tools. And I tend to use the diamond belt with this machine for the vast majority of sharpening, but we will look at that as we go. It's quite a versatile machine. It leans backwards just down. If you look at the picture, there it is. If you look at the picture just behind the jig there, not this bit, I can't put my hand in front of it, but there's a little bolt in there that means you can lean the belt backwards, up and down as you require, which might make reaching certain tools a little bit easier. I'm using mostly the deluxe kit, so there may be some bits and pieces that I'll demonstrate this evening that if you have one of these or the standard kit you may not have these bits, but hopefully most of you will be able to gain quite a lot from this. So let's turn that off. And if we look at the front of the machine to start with, there we go. We'll start with using the table. Now if you look at, which button is it, that one? Yes. Oh, no it's not, it's that one. There we go. If you look towards the back of the machine here, you can see there's a whole array of little holes running back here, and they correspond to the angles that are, oh dear, all in a fluster, the angles down here that are on the front of the machine that give you the standard angles required, or the standard angles that Robert Sorby tools come with. And the table itself clips in really simply. I wish I had time to rehearse this. There we go. Right. So the table itself screws in the side here. screws in the side here, and then you've got a little other little screw or bolt that fits in the side there, and you can very easily unscrew this, find the angle that you want, and screw it back in, and just give it a little tighten with that lever, and that is the table that is in place. And we'll start by looking at flat tools, something like a scraper, something like that, and I should be able to where are they? They're around here somewhere, not on that page. I'm still finding my way around this little gadget, so I'll be able to show you how to sharpen a bowl scraper, a skew chisel, a point tool, all of those kinds of things. So we'll look at the table to start with, and scrapers. So let's start with a scraper. There are all sorts of different kinds of scrapers, and I'll show you how to do two. Oh, I'll come on to gouges towards the end, because there's quite a lot of information I need to give you about gouges. So I'll come on to gouges when we've done the flat stuff. So here we've got just a bog standard scraper. Just a very, very standard tool. It's quite narrow, and actually, sorry, you can tell I haven't rehearsed this particularly well. Let's talk about belts first. Shall we talk about belts first? That would be helpful. There are a variety of belts that you can use with the Pro Edge. I tend to use these. Is it this? Okay, I did check this earlier on. I use the blue ones. I use the blue ones as these are really good for high-speed steel. There are a couple of others. The Trizac belt, if I remember correctly from the website, is not ideal for high-speed steel, but I could be wrong. It's worth double checking on the Sorby website for that. But I use the blue belts. This is a 60 grit, and what I normally do is when I get a tool, I use the 60 grit to essentially reshape the tool, and I'll be doing that with a bowl gouge later. I've got a spare bowl gouge here that has the factory grind on it. I start with the 60 grit to grind it into the shape that I want, and then I just refine that shape a little bit with the 120 grit, and then I use a 240 grit to put an edge on, and then I use the diamond belt just to put the edge back on as the tool dulls. So there's no need to go through all of the belt changes once you've got the profile on the tool that you want. I hope that's making sense. I will find a flow in a minute to this demonstration, I promise. So to start with, I'm not going to change the belt just yet because I don't want to reshape this tool, so I just want to put an edge back onto it. Right. I hope that's not too overexposed. Right, so this is, as I said, it's got the standard grind on it, and if I just line up, if you look in the top left hand corner of your screen, I've got my finger, or my thumb and forefinger, on the bolt at the back, which I'm screwing into the right angle, and then I'm just going to tighten up the table, which will bring it all square, and then quite simply I'm going to place the tool on the table. Let's just show you that from the other angle, he said. There we go. I'm going to place it on the table like so, with a little bit of finger pressure, and then when I switch the machine on, all I'm going to do is swing the tool evenly from right to left and back again, just like so, and that will put a nice edge back on the tool. So let's do that, shall we? Turn the machine on, place the tool flat on the table, little bit of pressure into the belt, not very much, and then I'm just going to turn that tool round, and let's see that from the top as well. A little bit of pressure into the tool, not very much, and then a little bit of pressure into the belt, and just move it round steadily so you end up with a nice radius on there. Now you do that with all of the belts, even if you're reshaping. You can put it on there and just keep the tool moving, otherwise you're going to end up with a flat spot that you will end up having to grind back out again. And one thing I should say, and I should certainly be doing this, is put some glasses on as well, particularly with the coarser grits. As you'll see, it will start sparking. Right, so that was a scraper, a standard round nose scraper. Now let's take a look at doing a bowl scraper like this one here, in fact. So let me put that back up there. No, wrong button. That one, the button that says Pro Edge. Right, and we'll just turn that off. So again, put the tool flat on the table. Now this edge here comes round the side. I think you can see that there. Comes round the side. So I'm going to just start just where the cutting edge starts on the tool, and then I'm just going to swing that round. And then after you've finished regrinding it and putting the shape on it, that's all you really need in order to put the edge back on. Now I'm using the standard angles, so this one here is 80 degrees according to the, where's the screen gone? There it is. According to the angle thing down here, 80 degrees. This hole here corresponds to the hole at the back down here. So it's a standard grind on a standard scraper, 80 degrees, and you can just ease it and tease it round quite happily, quite easy. You can't go wrong really, so long as you just keep the tool moving across the belt. You'll end up putting on a nice radius and a nice edge afterwards. And let's have a look at a skew. Now we've got to change the angle for the skew, and on the table we need to put the, oh, where's that gone? There it is. We need to put the skew profile in. Now this is set at the standard angle for the Sorby skew. You don't have to use this if you have a different profile on your skew chisel, but that's the standard profile for the Sorby skews. And we've got to tilt this table right the way down, for this. Let's just undo that a bit. And that is 15 degrees, which is the hole that's right at the top. Now, if you have bolted your Pro Edge to the deck like I have here, you might notice that the tool handle catches on the bench, and that, of course, is going to change the angle that is up here, because I can't. You can just see there, I think. Come on, change. There it is. You can see here I've got a gap because the tool handle is catching on the bench. That's when we need to change the angle of the actual sanding belts themselves. Now, the machine does come with, oh, I can't get it. The machine does come with, oh, there it is. I don't do this very often. Right, let's try and say that again, shall we? Now the machine does come with a big long Allen key, but I can't find it, so I'm having to use a small one. And if you lie it down, if you tilt the belts back, you'll find that you'll be able to rest that on there quite happily and not catch anything anywhere. And because the skew profiler is double-sided or two-sided, you can just make sure that you put the edge back on. Let's just tilt that back up there a little bit, like that. And all you do is turn it on, make sure everything's tight, line the skew up against the side of the profiler and just slide it onto the belt, turn it round, just like that, and that will put a nice edge back on there for you quite happily. Let's stop that. Ooh, lean that back up again, move the camera, there we go, and that's the skew. It's really simple, so I don't actually think this demonstration is going to go on for too long, because the system is incredibly simple to use, once you have got it set up to how you like it and you've had a little bit of a practice. If you're moving from one system to another, particularly a wheeled system, then you will have to regrind, or you will have to grind the hollow out of your tools in order to get the best out of the Pro Edge, which doesn't take that long, maybe 5 minutes per tool, something like that, if you've got a very a very sharp hollow grind from a white wheel, a 6-inch wheel or something like that. But I will come on to the grinding and the shaping of a tool a little bit later. As I said, for those of you who are just joining me, or joining us should I say, I will be reprofiling this standard this gouge, 3/8 gouge with a standard factory grind. I will be grinding that down to oh, where is it? That one. I will be showing you how I put my grind onto the gouges. Right then, next up, let's look at a diamond tip parting tool, this one in particular. And after this I will stop for some questions, and so we're going to do the diamond tip parting tool. Now this requires a slightly different tool. We need a standard gouge jig, which is there. I'm going to have to lean that back over a little bit and just move the camera again, just tilt that back up there. So the standard gouge jig sits in the little slot that's on the table here, so you can move it left and right, and it's all cut nice and square. So if you're not comfortable holding the tool nice and square like that, you can use the standard gouge jig just like that to keep it nice and upright, and then just slide the tool onto the belt. So let's do that as well, because we need to change the angle. So we'll just change the camera again. Now this one, if I remember correctly, I need to use this second hole just in here. And if I remember correctly, it is that hole there. It's that hole there, which, if you remember, if we take a look at the overhead, change, come on. Yeah, no, you can't see it, never mind. But anyway, it's 20 degrees. So, hold the tool up against the standard gouge jig. Just double check as well, just by looking down the side, that is set up correctly. Start the machine, and then you can just slide the tool up against the belt. As you can see with this diamond belt there's no sparks or anything, and we can turn it round. Oh. And do that side, and that's all you need to do to put the edge back on. Really, really, really simple. Oh, that'll help if I tighten that up. Now, you don't have to use this if you don't want to. You could save yourself a few seconds because the shaft here is going to be cut square. And what you can do is you can just hold that up against the table, slide it up, mind your fingers, turn it round, and there you've got yourself a nice edge again. I hope you can see that. So let's just take that off, and that was the diamond tip parting tool. Sweet. Right, we'll pause there for some questions. This really is a very, very, it's going to sound like a sales pitch. It's not a sales pitch. This is how I do it, and this is what I find with the machine. It's really, really simple to use, and it's very difficult to go wrong. The main thing to keep aware of is to keep the tools, to keep the square tools or the flat tools nicely up against the table. And if you're doing a scraper, just keep that movement nice and fluid, so you get a nice smooth curve on the end of the scrapers, and then just keep the tools stationary when you're doing something like a skew or the diamond tip parting tool I just showed you. So, does anybody have any questions so far? I'll show you the standard gouge jig in a bit, what it does properly. Stuart Farini's here, is he somewhere? Hi Stuart. So anybody have any questions? I've got to wait for the delay until you can hear what I say. Hi Martin. Oh, who's that? Kim Chisty. How long an Allen key for the tool, for the Pro Edge? Oh, where's it gone? I'm using this one. It's fairly small. Ideally, you need a longer one. The key that does come with it. Let me just turn that off. The key that does come with it sits in a little Allen key holder down here and stretches out this way with a twisty handle on the end. But I don't have one that long. Hence why I've gone for the short version and a little bit of brute force. Oh, I'm going to have to scroll back through some of these questions. How much pressure should you use? Paul, you don't need to use a lot of pressure, Paul Kavanagh. You don't need to put a lot of pressure onto it, just enough to keep the tool on the belt, really. Just keep enough tool pressure on the through there to keep the tool on the belt. You'll know it. If you're pushing too hard, it's going to start to get really quite hot very, very quickly. But you don't need an awful lot of pressure. Just enough to keep it on the belt. That's all you really need. Stuart, do you need to put a burr on a scraper after sharpening? Stuart in Guernsey, Stuart Ingereel, I don't. I just go with the scraper straight off the tool, straight off the machine. It seems to work without any problems at all. Alistair Clark, what's the grit of the diamond belt? It's not really a grit, but I think it's somewhere around the 240 mark, which when we get onto the bowl gouge, the bowl gouges, I'll talk a little bit more about that. But for all the tools, if you don't have the diamond belt, finish on 240, a 240 belt, and that will give you a very, very acceptable edge. If you use a 240 belt to put the edge back on. The diamond belt is not 100% necessary. I haven't taken this belt off in nearly 3 years. I've had a diamond belt on here since 2015, I think. no, 2016. 2016, I think I put a diamond belt on here, and it stayed there forever. I very rarely take it off. The only time I take the diamond belt off is when I'm actually reshaping a gouge, which is what I'll show you in a bit. What's the slot in the tool rest? Drew, the slot in here. If you keep popping it out, just practice a little bit more. Wessex Technical James, what's your go-to finishing grit size? The diamond belt, or as I've just said, James, the 240 grit to put your edge back on as you're turning. Mike Fricker, how to sharpen a round skew. I don't use a round skew, and I haven't got one. Well, I have, but I don't use it. The best thing you could do with that is to hold it on with your thumb and just keep it as steady as you possibly can. Les, how would you do a negative rake scraper? Really simply, Les, I don't use negative rake scrapers, but let me just find that little scraper again. There we are. So if I was sharpening this as a negative rake scraper, let me just stand that up and turn it off. That should come back over there. Let's just assume that this is at the right angle, just for argument's sake. Oh, let's put that in the right hole. That would help. So if I was doing a negative rake scraper, this is for Les, I would do one side like this, as I showed you, turn it over, change the angle of the table to the angle of the negative rake, and do the same again on the other side. That's how I would do a negative rake scraper, Les. Hi David Hall, yes I'm fine, thank you. Right, I've done the one about the negative rake scraper. John Minerich, as I don't have an oval skew, or I don't use an oval skew, I've not practiced it, so I'm just showing you the techniques that I use here. Any more? Oh yeah, there are. Hang on, scroll down a bit. How long do the belts last? Okay, this is Mr. Swarfiga. How long do the belts last? They last as long as they keep putting an edge on. So if you sharpen regularly and you put an edge on with your 240 belt regularly, it might last, I don't know, a month or two, something like that. I haven't used a 240 belt for a long time, but I was getting through them fairly regularly. And at £7 or £8 a time, something like that, for the ones that are dedicated to the Sorby machine, really, or the ones that Sorby sell. I don't know, maybe one a month, once every 2 months, something like that. But it does depend upon how often you actually sharpen something. The coarser grits, the 60 and the 120, something like that, because I don't use them very regularly, they've lasted me over a year. Right, I'm just scrolling back down through the comments, everybody. No, it's not on the wall. Kim, that's if that's the one you're looking at, that's my chuck key, or one of my chuck keys. So that's my chuck key, not the key for this. Steve Longdon, how much is the machine? Steve, I think at the moment, Steve Longdon, I think it's about 400-ish, something like that. Let me just do a quick Google search for you and I'll let you know. Pro Edge Deluxe. Let's hit the shopping button, shall we, and see what happens. £379 or for those of you in the States, that's about $450. So yeah, somewhere around the £400 mark, something like that. Ray, no it's not. As I've said, that's my chuck key. It's the same colour handle. Right, okay, I think I'm down at the bottom now. James, when I was being taught how to use how I was being taught to use the Pro Edge, I was told just to use the Allen key bolt at the front here. Roger Delaney, do you use all of the extras within the deluxe kit? To be honest, Roger, it's been so long since I've got this, I can't remember what's in the deluxe kit and what isn't. I do have the buffing mop and the little pigtail thing that screws in the side down the bottom here. I think you can see that. Just down the bottom, you see the little cover on the side there, just down the bottom there's a little hole that you can put a pigtail and a buffing wheel and a rubber mop thing. Never used it. I've never seen any need to. You would want to do it if you were using woodworking tools, but with turning tools I don't think that there is any point at all to do that. Right, shall we move on and let's look at doing a round skew like this. This is Les Thorne's round skew rather than an oval skew. There it is. You can see that. That's just a 10mm round skew. And I'm going to what you might find is, no, wrong button. Come back up, Pro Edge. There it is. What you might find is eventually you'll start to lose. The tool handle will start, or the ferrule might start to catch on the table. Let's just get that into the right hole. I think that's the right one. There we go. Yeah, you might start to catch the tool handle. I'm all right here for now, but if you do start to lose that, then if you use the gouge jig, it does give you a little bit. Oh no, it doesn't. I was lying. Ignore me. If you use a round tool like this one in the skew jig, the standard gouge jig, beg your pardon, you will eventually run out of distance here, and you'll catch the ferrule. At which point you need to move to holding it yourself. That one. You will need to move to holding it yourself. It's not very difficult. You've just got to be careful just to hold it nice and squarely without twisting it, otherwise you'll put a profile on the cutting edge. And that's all that needs to put an edge back on. Very, very quick. And somebody asked me the other day, somebody asked me specifically if I could show them how to sharpen a fluted parting tool. Where is it? Diamond parting tool. Can't find it. Have I deleted it? I might have done. So with a fluted parting tool, let's just put this over the top. I'll turn that one off. Right, as you can see here, we've got the flute on the long side, and then we've got essentially a shorter edge down here. And all we do for that is tilt the table up again. Tilt the table up, present the tool which is on that hole there, third one down for those that are interested. This angle here is 35 degrees, and you can use the standard gouge jig just to keep the tool upright if you want to, and then just present the tool to the belt. Job done. Let's just show you that again. Present the tool to the belt, making sure that it stays squarely on the table, and there it is. Quick and easy. Right, what else can we do? What else can we sharpen while we're here? If you want to do a standard parting tool, this one has been hugely mullered over time. It's not flat along here or anything like that. So what I could do is I could put a new edge on that, which I'll do in a bit. Now the standard gouge jig, if we take a look at this one here, I will be reshaping this tool later. Now this is a 3/8 bowl gouge with a standard grind on it. Let's just get that to the right angle. Now obviously there won't be quite so much faffing around. There it is. Yeah, there won't be quite so much faffing around once you get your own systems all set up. But to put the standard grind on, this is 45 degrees, so it is a standard grind on here. Line that up, hold the tool squarely and firmly in the jig. Start the machine. Make sure it is nice and firm and square in there, and then just roll the gouge round. And you can see there how that edge is coming up really nicely. I'll just put that on there, just give it a little twist. Either way, you can go all the way around if you want, right up to the top. And you can see how nicely that's coming off. So that's the standard gouge jig. Again, that's a fairly versatile little tool. And I'll stop there for a couple of I'll stop here for a couple of questions, because I'll say, are there any other tools that you want to see sharpened on the Pro Edge? Are there any other questions on the flat tools that will require the table? If you have excuse me, I've just had a message come in. Sorry. For those of you who have just joined or have been here a little while, I'm just going to repeat that this demonstration is not sponsored nor endorsed by the Robert Sorby Company at all. I'm doing this to answer as many questions as I possibly can, as during my demonstrations I get asked a lot, mostly about the bowl gouges, which I will come on to very shortly. Martin, does it blue the tools if you're not careful? Adrian, it does eventually. The diamond belt not so much, I find, but then I only use the diamond belt for putting the edge back on, so it's on, done and dusted. It doesn't get hot enough. You can blue the tools if you're using the coarser grits for sure, so you do have to be careful. Oh yeah, point tool, Michael Rudkin. Yeah, thank you for that. Right, point tool. Let me show you the point tool. Point tool, more tools up there. Point tool. There we go. I'll show you how I sharpen my point tool. It's a Henry Taylor point tool, and I use the. I think I do anyway. Have I got enough room on there? Yeah, just about. So I'm going to just. I've presented the tool to the belt, and there it is. That is 35 degrees if you're interested. Obviously your own tools may vary. And again, I'm just going to present the tool to the belt. Turn that off. Turn that one off. Oh, that one. So I'm going to present the tool to the belt and then just turn it round. Just like that. There we are, Michael. That's as easy as it is to sharpen a point tool. So have I used a whetstone? No, I don't see that there's any point at all in using a whetstone for turning tools. Emma, the tiny turner, with her carving tools may well use a whetstone, but for turning tools I don't see that there's any point whatsoever. Dr. Don Cutler, hi Don. Any preference for handled or unhandled tools? Not really. Most of the tools that I use in the workshop are handled, although I do have a mixture of tools. My demo kit is primarily unhandled, and I just keep a couple of handles so I can just interchange quickly and keep my demo kit fairly light. I will be sharpening an unhandled tool later. Paul Kavanagh, is there anything you can do if you have blued off a tool or overheated it? I would, to be honest, I would go back and just do it again carefully until the bluing's gone. But if you see that it's going blue, stop and then just sharpen through the blue. Woody, I have done a flat skew. Woody Woodcrafts, I did a flat skew a little while ago. Ivor Pudifant, what's the point tool used for? Let me show you, Ivor. If you can see, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see that, it might be a bit overexposed, but you might be able to see some lines in here. It's just for putting a little bit of decoration onto wood. The other bits and the other texture and stuff that's in here was done with a different tool, but you can see the fine lines there that has been put in with the flat skew, with the point tool. Woody, I have done a flat skew. James Cassidy, aligning the belt, that's a good one. Up the top here, now when mine arrived the belt was perfectly aligned, but up here we've got a little knob, or a big knob rather, that we can twist to just change the alignment of the belt across the top and the bottom rollers. I've never changed mine, so this is actually seized up. I need to get some WD-40 in there to unseize it. But you just change the alignment of the belt just by twisting this little knob here, or undoing this locking nut, and then twisting the knob with the machine running, just to pull the belts into the centre of the rollers. You might be wrong one. No, you can't see them there. But then if you just twist that, it'll just pull the belts across into the middle of the rollers, and then you can just lock it off, and I've locked it and I haven't changed it in 3 years, hence why it's kind of seized on. Why don't you like the standard? Oh, that's a good question, Ed Stone. Why don't you like the standard grind on a bowl gouge? Is it just the catch points? That's a really good question, that, Ed. Yes, it is primarily the catch points. I'll see if I can show you this a little bit closer. Oh, that one. If you can see the gouge here, you don't. Let me just try and line that up a little bit better. I should have a picture of it, but I didn't have a chance to take one. You don't have too much of a wing on here. In fact, there's virtually no wing at all. So your catch points are all fairly close together. The tips of the wings up here and the toe. So there's very little sort of cutting area there. But if you put a long grind, a long fingernail grind on here, like that one, you've got a much greater distance. You've got a much greater distance from the toe back down here to the end of the wing. So you've got a longer cutting edge. And if you join the demonstration on Saturday, which is about turning a beginner's bowl, I'll see if I can remember to talk to you about that and how you can use a long cutting edge to a long wing to really effectively remove wood from your blank. You're very welcome, Ivor. Chris Cox, Martin, on high-speed steel, don't you lose the temper as far as on carbon steel when you overheat? Chris, I'm not a metallurgist. Is that the right word? Yeah, I think so. But yes, if you do get high-speed steel too hot, it does blunt fairly quickly, and so you're better off just being very careful. And over a period of time, that blue area is going to be sharpened away. So I don't think that there's anything too much to worry about, to be fair. Do you keep a water dip nearby to cool the tool during profiling? No, Andy, don't do that, because similar to the previous question, you can actually change the temper in the steel, particularly if it gets too hot and you quench it. So just let it cool down naturally. Paul Kavanagh, alignment, does that work for both the top and the bottom rollers? No, Paul, you only adjust the top one. You only adjust the top roller just to pull the alignment into the bottom one. And if there is a method of realigning the bottom one, I've never been shown it. Thanks, Emma. Thank you for joining in, Emma. I'll see if I can give you a call in a couple of days just to see how you're both doing up there. Michael Palmer, is your shop damp? Lots of rust on your Pro Edge. Michael, yes, it is relatively damp, and the machine is nearly 4 years old. Or it is 4 years old, sorry, it might even be nearly 5 years old. So yeah, the shop is a little bit damp, but it hasn't affected the operation of the machine at all. Roger, do you have to clean the diamond belt? That's another good question, Roger. You're on fire with your questions tonight. You can clean the diamond belt, and I have cleaned this a few times. All you do is you take the belt home, take the belt home, soap and water, give it a bit of a scrub, rinse it off thoroughly, leave it to dry. You're good to go. It's that simple. Right, let's have a little mouthful of water. Right, shall we have a look at some gouges next? I'll just get set up for their gouges. So if you guys want to head off and grab a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, and then do so, and we'll be back here in say 3 minutes, something like that, and I will show you all about how I sharpen and reshape a bowl gouge.
the stars, driving down the boulevard at night. Playing Coldplay on repeat, watching people on the street as I go by. And it doesn't even matter to me where I go, I just feel I need to take a ride. Got my coffee cup to go, and I'm gonna hit the road tonight. Now my wheels in motion and my windows open with the wind blowing in my hair. I'm driving down the highway, gonna do this my way. I can feel it in the air. Here I go. Turning up the stereo in a place I didn't know till now. In a different part of town, I see new colors as the sun goes down. No, it doesn't even matter to me where I go, just feel I need to take a ride. I don't know when I'll get back, keep on going and relax tonight. Now my wheels in motion and my windows open with the wind blowing in my hair. I'm driving down the highway, gonna do this my way. I can feel it in the air. Here I go.
Right, back again. I'll give it a couple of minutes for other people to join in, and we'll look at sharpening bowl gouges. Now, a couple of people that I'm just having a little squiz at the comments. They're saying about the shaving, well, not the shavings, but the filings and stuff that drop off. I tend to keep mine. I tend to sweep them off and keep them so I can make some more, what's it called, ebonizing solution. Other people, as you may have read in the comments there, use magnets underneath, some rare earth magnets, just to catch the iron file or the metal filings as they come off, because they are magnetic, and then obviously disposed of however you want to. But underneath mine I haven't got anything, because I normally take this on and off relatively regularly to go to demonstrations and shows and stuff. I don't keep the magnets under there, and then I just sweep them up and put them in, or saving them up to put them into some more ebonizing solution. Are you telling me, Leisure, are you telling me I've made a spelling mistake? Hang on. Oh. Yes, there is a spelling mistake. Well spotted. I will correct that for the next demonstration. Sorry. Right, let's take a look at bowl gouges. Right. Now, I think with the standard kit, you get this, which is the standard profiler, which puts on a standard fingernail grind. But I went for the long grind jig, which essentially puts on a standard fingernail, a medium fingernail and a long fingernail, and I'll show you each of them on this standard ground 3/8 bowl gouge. So in order to do a bowl gouge using the system, you need either the long grind. I'm going to give up trying to point at this because never mind. You need either the long grind jig or the standard jig. I don't think I've ever used the standard jig because the long grind jig has a corresponding hole, which is this one here, and I'll talk about those in a minute. And you also need the profile jig, which is this little gizmo here, and it is that that you put your bowl gouge into. When you receive this, do not change the angle. This is factory set to 120 degrees. So if you're having problems with your Pro Edge and you've changed this angle here, put it back to 120 degrees. That is how it was set at the factory, and that's what it should be. So don't change this at all. And we're going to be using the long grind jig, the Pro set, which I'll talk about in a second, and the fingernail profile jig. Now the Pro set, if you have a look here, and also let's turn that off, you can just see the top of mine just here. You use that to put your to set your angle that you want the gouge at. Now my gouges are set at 45 degrees, as you might be able to see from the Pro set that's on your screen there. That's the one that I use most often, but it's not 45 degrees, and I will talk to you about why it's not. No, I'll do it now because I've mentioned it. With the long grind jig and the standard jig, as you can see, the jig has got 3 holes. The one that's furthest away from the left, or rather the first one in from the left hand side, that is 45 degrees. If you put it into the second hole along, as you can see on your screen there, that adds 5 degrees to what you set on the Pro set. So if you set 45 degrees here and use that hole there, that is 45 degrees. This hole here sets the gouge to 50 degrees, and this one here sets it to 55 degrees. So it's as the Pro set plus 5, and then that's plus 10. That little diagram there might be a little bit misleading. That I think that should say plus 5, so it's as the Pro set plus 5 plus another 5. So I'll change that. So make sure you understand that if you set to 45 degrees on the Pro set and use the innermost hole, which is this one, that is 45 degrees, that is 50 degrees, and that one there is 55 degrees. I hope that makes sense. I will change that graphic for people who I demonstrate to in the future. So I hope that makes some sense to you. It does to me, but I don't think any information like that actually appears in any literature from Robert Sorby, and I checked that using one of these. This is just a protractor, and I just double checked that I was right using one of those. This is really handy. Now my gouges are set primarily at 55 degrees, so I use the other one. Might have to change that camera angle. So I use the long grind. So this is the innermost hole. So this hole here is the one that corresponds to the Pro set, the triangular looking thing. So that's 45, 50, 55. I do most of my sharpening on there, like that. But we'll go through each one, and I'll show you what each one does with this 3/8 bowl gouge. So let's change the camera angle and just move that down there like that. So we'll start with the standard of 45 degrees. Undo the locking nut, slide in the gouge, and then slide the gouge through until it catches the 45 degree bit and do it up. And there we are, set. And I'll start at 45 degrees. Just move that again. Now you might be able to see that one. No. That one. No, I don't think you can see that particularly well. But this is not correct. This is a standard grind on here, so using the diamond belt is the wrong thing to do. So I'm going to change the belt really quickly, and just at the top here we've got a little lever that just drops down there. I can just pull that forward, which releases the tension on the belt. Take off the cover on the side. Slide that belt off, and to start the reshaping I'm going to use a 60 grit belt, and if you look you can see that there are some direction arrows in there. Make sure that the arrows are at the back and pointing up the machine. That's quite I don't know how important that is, but okay, flick the lever back over, put the cover back on. Okay, right, let's go back up there. Gouges. That one. Right, so if we have a look at the profile of that one, you can see that that is a swept back wing. It's quite long, but that is set to 55 degrees. Now this is the 45 degree one, which is going to be quite long. So put your glasses on for this, and sorry, just as before, I'm going to present the tool to the belt and just roll it sideways. And I'll talk about exactly what I'm doing as we're going through it, and it's more important when we get down to 120 grit, I think. So I want a nice long wing, which means I've got quite a lot of material I need to take off. I've got quite a lot of material I need to take off in order to pull this wing back. As you can see there, it's starting to spark, which is why I've got my glasses on. So I'm winding down one side. Let me just add, this is not the way the instructions say how to do it. This is the way that I do it. You can use the proper instructions, of course, but this is the way that I'm doing it personally. Okay, I'm glad we got that out of the way. Right. So I'm going to do one side first. Now I'm keeping the tool rocking all the time. I'm keeping the tool rocking because I want a slightly convex wing. I don't like a flat wing. And I'm being careful not to get it too hot as well. And I'm being careful not to get the tool too hot as well. and then I'm going to roll slowly over the nose. And then start work on the other side again. Now you may find that you need to slide. You may find that you need to slide the jig along the bar at the bottom here to keep the tool in the middle. And I just need to change the angle of this, as we've changed it a couple of times. I need to get it up to where I'd like it. Oh, wrong button. That one, that's the one I want. There it is. Up to about there, a bit further. Yeah, there we go. So up to about there. And you can see now that we're beginning to get the wing here. And there we are. You can see there, I think, that we've got a 45-degree fingernail grind on there. Quite happily. It's really coarse. It's a very, very coarse. No, can't do that. Let's put that back. Yes, it's a very, very coarse cut here with the 600 grit. Sorry, 660 grit, I beg your pardon. So after you've done the initial reshaping, quickly change the belts down to 120. That one. Now you only need to do this once for each of your tools. Remember, once you've reshaped it into the profile that you like, all you need to do is just leave either the 240 grit belt on to put your edge back on, or if you've got the diamond belt, use the diamond belt and leave it on. You don't need to go through this process every time you sharpen your tools. This is only for when you reshape them, when you first get them, or when you want to change the angles. There we go. And I've left the tool in exactly the same position, so when I represent the tool to the belt, this belt's actually brand new, when I reposition, when I put the tool back to the belt, it will be in exactly the same position as it was set. And you might be able to see there how much smoother that cutting edge is coming. Oops, I put it in the wrong hole. Out of habit, I put it into my normal hole here, which is why I've got a slightly different bevel. So let's put that back to the right hole there, which is 45 degrees, and do that again. Force of habit. So I need to spend a little bit of time on the wings, just putting back the bevel that I lost. Move it over a little bit. Just smooth that little curve out a little bit. Move the tool along, give you a different view. So I'm keeping the tool moving all the time. Just going to smooth out those little lumps. You can tell I'm left-handed. And there you can see we've got the 45-degree fingernail bevel. That looks quite nice, that. And then once you're done with the 120 belt, you can change that down to your 240 belt to put your final cutting edge on. Or, as I said, if you're using the diamond belt, you can go straight from 120 to the diamond belt quite happily. So I can lose the 120, put the diamond belt back on. And I've done it again, look. I've just put it back into the 55-degree one over here. Glad I spotted that this time. 406 people, good heavens. That's astonishing. Okay, right, there we go. So I've got the diamond belt back in there now, but as I said, if you don't have the diamond belt, this is where you put your 240 belt and leave it. You don't have to go through the rigmarole of using the 60 grit and the 120 grit after you have reshaped the gouge. You can just leave the 240 grit on there until it dies and it doesn't put an edge back on, which is when obviously you replace the belt, but diamond belt will last ages. Right, so here we go again. Let me just take that off, turn that off. Right, so, let's put it back in the right hole, that helps. And then you can just put your edge back, or rather you can put a cutting edge on with the diamond belt. As you can see, there are no sparks. And there we go, that has put on a really nice cutting edge, nice and shiny. And also the diamond belt doesn't seem to get the tool very hot either. And when it comes to putting the edge back on, very quickly, very simply, all you need to do, as you've already seen, is get the gouge, slide it into the profile jig, find your 45-degree mark, stick it in the 45-degree hole and touch the edge up, and that's probably all it will need. It won't need very much at all. Now if we just go back to the overhead again, about there, you'll be able to see that where the shaft here turns into the bevel, we've got quite a sharp little edge. So the heel there is quite sharp. Now if I show you the grind on my gouge, not that one, you'll be able to see that the heel there, I've turned that heel, I've ground that heel off, and I do that by hand. I do that freehand. I don't use the jig for that. So let me show you how I do that, and we'll be better off with this one, I think. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to hold the gouge roughly like that. So I split the angle across there, and then just very carefully, barely any pressure into the tool, and just ease that heel off. Be very careful doing this. And there we are, that has just rounded that heel off really quite nicely. I wonder if I can hold that up to the camera here and you might be able to see it. Can you see that? It's all very bright on my screen, I can't see very well. So there we are. And what rolling over that heel does is, let me show you again. What that does is that when you're turning the inside of a bowl, it just helps to ease the pressure or any pressure that's going into the wood from the heel, and just eases it over, and I find you get a slightly cleaner cut by doing that. So I can turn that off. Now I will just go over those angles again for you. I generally don't care too much about what angle my gouges are at, so long as they cut and I like the way they cut and I can handle it the way they cut. Doesn't matter. My standard gouge, as you can see on the screen here, is 55 degrees, which is quite steep for a bowl gouge, but it works absolutely beautifully for me. And this convex wing, I like that convex wing very much. I'm not overly keen on a flat wing or a straight wing that dives around. Slightly convex works for me really well, and you do that just by keeping the tool moving. And what you might find, if you're new to this, what you might find is you might get a sort of a little bit of a hook at the end here. If you do get that little bit of a hook, spend more time just rolling over the nose of the tool. Let me show you. Let me just pull this up. I'll show you what I mean. 45 degrees, and we'll put it in my, oh, that was close, my long hole Pro Edge. Turn that one off. Right, so if you do find you're getting a hook up the top of the gouge by the, about here somewhere, slowly go round the nose of the tool, and if you go round there slowly, what you'll find is that it will pull that wing down into that nice convex shape that we've got just there. So just ease that round like that, but keep the gouge moving. What I find, you can hook it if you stop too long in one place and then whip over to the other place. Wing. So if you're working over here on the right hand wing and you get that down nicely, then you flip it over to the other side and do the other wing. You've ignored the nose, which leaves the nose essentially quite long, and that's where you're going to get the hook. So just slowly roll over the nose, do one wing, slowly roll over the nose, and then that will bring you back down to the other wing. Keep the gouge moving all the time, slowly roll it back again, and then, as I said, you will end up with a nice profile on your gouge there. Yeah, sweet. Right. Yeah, I was going to say, let me go over those angles again. So you've got the Pro set. Oh, let me turn the gouge off. So you've got the Pro set that I've shown you already, and you've got 35, 40, 45 and 50 degrees. I'm going to tell you something else in a minute as well, so make sure you keep an ear out for this. So you've got 35, 40, 45 and 50 degrees. Now on the standard fingernail jig, this little one here, that the hole where you put the jig, that one, so this hole goes onto the bar on the machine down here. No, I've got that the wrong way around, that way. So in that configuration, that for argument's sake, is 45 degree as per your pro set, or 35, 40 or 50 degrees. But if you use the long grind jig, the hole nearest the front, there's the long grind jig, the hole nearest the front, so the one that's, yeah, it's that one there, that corresponds to the standard hole on let me just move that, there we go, you can see that there. So this is the standard one. That hole is the same, so this hole is 45 degrees, but this hole adds 5 degrees onto what it says on the pro set, so that's 45, 50, 55 degrees. So if you set your gouge at 40 degrees, this hole is 40 degrees, this one is 45, this one is 50. 40, 45, 50, yeah, that's right. So let me just show you a little graphic of that. Now remember what I said there, where it says as pro set, so 45 degrees, that hole there is +5, what the pro set says, and that hole there is +10, what the pro set says. I will change that graphic and I'll work on a better spiel to explain that, but I only put this little graphic together today, so I hope that's helpful. But that can also work in reverse, particularly if you've essentially run out of flute on your skew chisel. No, not your skew chisel, your spindle gouge, beg your pardon. So let's turn those two off and I'll see if I can show you what I mean. If you've got a handled spindle gouge like this one here, let's put that over the top. This is, gosh, I can't remember. Bear with me a minute, I'll just check. This is where this little tool comes in really handy. So I'm just going to check, so I can't remember what it is. No, can't even read that. Is it 40 degrees? Oh yeah. If you've set this to 40 degrees, for example, or is it 45? Hang on. Let me check. I don't want to get this wrong. 45. Oh yeah. There we go. Found it. Right. Pop. And let's change that. Right. As we bring this up here, and we've set the gouge to 45 degrees on our pro set, and we want 45 degrees, so we set it on the inner hole. You can either use the standard one, which will give you the correct angle. I'm glad I found this. That will give you the correct angle. But if you've got the long grind jig, or you've lost your standard grind, you're going to catch the handle on the end of the long grind jig. So if you're on 45 degrees, reset that to 50, and put it on the middle hole, that will work, and then you've got clearance. But you only need to worry about this if you have misplaced your standard jig. So you can also use that method in reverse. I think that made sense. Right, well I think that pretty much covers it for tonight. Right, let's well, sorry, what did that say? Phil Skoltuk. So to grind a bottom feed, a 60-degree bevel or more with a very short wing length. Yeah, Phil, just do it as normal. If we look back at the overhead, you can see here that we've got 50 degrees. And if we load a gouge in, I'll use an unhandled one. I won't actually do it because these are the ones I use. So if we load that to 50 degrees, like so we've got 50 degrees there, it'll be 50 degrees on this hole, 55 degrees on this hole, or 60 degrees on that hole there. So your gouger or your bottom feeder, as they're known, in this position will have a 60-degree bevel on it. And then if we go back to the Pro set over here, if you measure the distance between the 40 to 40, or measure this distance here, 45 to 50, measure that distance back here, you can see there, you might be able to see that there's a little pencil mark. Let me just put that mark back on. Just there, that mark there is 55 degrees, give or take a little bit. And then so that's 55. So this hole is 55, that one is 60, that one is 65. That will give me a 65-degree bevel, like that. So for a bottom feeder, you can do it in exactly the same way. Tubby Turner, thank you very much. That's awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that very much indeed. So yeah, Phil, I hope that helps you out there. Right, hang on a minute. Let me just scroll back down here to Carol's comment. Julian Cleek, yes, if you want to keep the 45 degree on the long grind, you will need to alter the angle of the jig. Well, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Let me just clarify something. You do not change. Do not change that angle there. Don't change the angle on there. That is factory set. If you want a 45, or if you are going to mess around with it, make sure you put it back. If you want a 45 degree long grind, let me just come back over here. Set your gouge to the 35 degree angle on the Pro set, and then use the long hole. That is going to be the best way for you to get a 45 degree bevel with a long wing. That is going to be the best way to do it. Don't mess around with this angle here. I hope that was all right. Right, Buster, any really good reason that I can tell the wife why I need to spend 165 quid? Buster, I think, are you talking about the diamond belt? Well, I haven't taken this diamond belt off in, I think it's about 3 years, at least 3 years, maybe 4, something like that. So this, if you work out how many times you change your 240 belt for putting the edge back on, and you can work out then how long it would take you to make the money back on the diamond belt. The diamond belt is not cheap. Yeah, it's very expensive, but if you're getting through the 240 belts a lot, then it might be worth investing in the diamond belt purely because it will save you money in the long run. Right, let me just scroll back down again and find a few more. Excuse me. I'm just looking back down through here. Chris Cox, yeah, the Trizac belts are not really any good for high-speed steel. They are designed for carbon steel. They look pretty, but they're not very good for high-speed steel. I'm using the blue ones, which are the zirconium ones. So does anybody have any questions at all? Now, don't forget, this is the way that I do it. There is more. Thank you, John Mooney and Adam Jackson. Thank you very much indeed for your donations. I really appreciate it. Yeah, and thank you for joining in as well. I hope you have found it useful. Now, this is the way that I do it. It's not necessarily the recommended method from the Robert Sorby catalogue of videos. This is the way that I do it because I find that this is the way it works for me best. David Holiday, thank you very much. Oh, Buster, don't blame me. It's not. I've justified spending 165 quid on essentially a sanding belt, but you don't have to, honestly. Paul Kavanagh, thank you very much, and Silk as well. Do all your skews have the same angle, Colin Ball? To be fair with you, Colin, I have one skew. Well, I have one normal skew, which is that one. That's set to the standard 15 degrees. And I have a round skew, which is 25, I believe, if I remember correctly. Twisted Trees, thank you very much. Julian West, Julian Clifford, you're very welcome, thank you. Now, if anybody is interested, on Saturday I'm going to be doing a beginner's bowl, and I'll be demonstrating first steps in bowl turning. I'll probably turn a little bit of cherry on Saturday if anybody is up for that, or if you know anybody who's recently taken up turning, or maybe you want to just tune in just to go through your technique and you can see how I do it. I'll explain it in reasonable detail, and this coming Saturday is just one project only, and I'll be starting at 12 o'clock midday UK time, which I think is about 8 a.m. over on the eastern seaboard. I'm not sure. Lindsay Gardner, John Mitchell, wow, thank you very much, that is so generous of you. Thank you, John Mitchell, I really appreciate that. That's really cool, thank you very much. Where was that? What is the lengths for the different angles on the set jig? Lindsay Gardner, I'm not going to give you those lengths there, as although this demonstration is not, somebody will give them to you. Although this demonstration is not sponsored nor endorsed by the Sorby company, I don't think it would be fair of me to give you what these distances are on the Pro Set, purely out of respect for them and their product. But thank you for asking. Roger Poulton, thank you very much. JJ, well, I hope one day you might be able to afford to get one of these. They are worth, in my opinion, they are worth every single penny. But this is not a sales pitch at all. I just want to show you how I use the Pro Edge to sharpen my turning tools. Roger, thank you. Paul, over the last few videos you've discovered so much. Oh, that's really cool. Thank you very much, Paul. So does anybody have any questions at all? Perhaps there's a tool you haven't seen me sharpen yet. Oh, hang on a minute. There are more comments down here. Ian Bennett, wow. Oh, you're a star, Ian. Thank you. Sandra Thurston, you're very welcome. James, thank you very much again for your donation. Thank you. Oh, I can't keep up with all of the because there's little conversations going on, and I can only catch glimpses of it, and I don't want to join a conversation halfway through, really. John Patillo, diamond belts are always out of stock. Been trying to get one for ages. Yes, John, they are quite hard to get hold of. I don't know where you are, John, but if one of the companies who sell the Pro Edge stuff has a waiting list for a product, then sign up to that. Ed Oliver at Oliver's Woodturning might do. I'm not sure. You're very welcome, Miss T. Thank you very much. And thank you, Ian Leonard, too, and James Cassidy. Yes. Sort out that ropey parting tool. Yeah, good one. Okay, let's have a look at the parting tool. So I can take the long grind jig off, and I'm going to just put the belts. Oh, change the belt again. So if you remember from a little while ago, I showed you an old parting tool, an old thin parting tool like that one. You can see it's not very pretty. Let's show you just how quickly we can get that back into a workable shape. Not that that won't work, but so I'll do it properly. I'll start with the 60 grit. Michael Renner, thank you, and Jennifer Stroughton as well. Thank you both for your input. I really appreciate that. No, you're both stars. Right. Let's just get the table on again. This won't take too long. I'm going to put the cover on. And right, now to start with, I'm going to put it. Oh, come on. There we go. Right. So as you can see there, that's not the right angle. So I've got to change the angle of the table to there. That one there. Oh, which oddly enough I think is the 45-degree angle. There we are. Make sure you tighten the table up so everything is all nice and square. Glasses on. There you go. I'm going to need to take quite a lot of material off here. So switch that on, and I'm using the standard gouge jig just as a support to keep the tool upright. I'm putting a little bit of pressure on the tool to get it into the belt. And I'm moving the tool along the belt as well, so I get kind of even wear across it. You can see that's beginning to come down quite nicely now. It needs a little bit more work. Don't forget to wear your glasses. And I'm being careful to keep the tool square to the bed and square to the standard gouge jig as well. This needs to have more taken off it than I thought. It's nearly there. You can see how much better that's becoming there, look. A little bit further to go. A little bit more, change hands. Whoops. That happened because I'm a left-handed person trying to do something right-handed. There we go, one more. There. That's just sorted that out fairly quickly. Now this angle under here, I was messing around with that, oh crikey, I don't know, 3 years ago I suppose, got it wrong. Right, so there's that. Now I can change the belt again. Now that's a really, really thin edge, so I can go straight from the 60 belt, the 60 grit belt down to the diamond belt, just to put the edge, just to put a nice edge on it. Oop, just flick that back on there. Whoops. Make sure when you put a belt on, it goes in front of this backing plate. Another handy hint there from Martin, make sure that the belt is in front of the backing plate. It makes a horrible noise if you get that wrong. So I haven't changed the angle of the table here. I've just switched the belts behind it. Make sure that's all good. And then find that, bring that back. Turn it on and then just present the tool. And then you might be able to just catch that edge there. And there we go. That's the tool sorted out. Right. Okay. I hope that answered your questions. James, it's James, isn't it? Twisted Trees, James. Yeah. I hope that was all right for you. So that's how quickly you can reshape something and put the edge back on. And the gouge as well. The gouge that we did, I'm going to reshape down to my normal 55 degrees for the demonstration on Saturday, which will be a beginner's bowl. And I'll use this tool as well, which is a standard tool from oh dear, pardon me, excuse me, I'll use this gouge as well, which is from a set very similar to all of the sort of the entry level sets. I'll make sure I use this and describe exactly what I'm doing with it. So does anybody have any more questions? Let me just scroll back up a little bit just to scroll through those. Buster, thank you very much. Buster, you had lots of little metal shards in the back of your hands. I've never had any problem like that. Personally, that is. Do you do anything different for a spindle gouge? That's a good question, Carolyn. No, I don't do anything different. The angle's slightly different though. Most of my spindle gouges are actually set to 45 degrees. That's it. It's set to 45 degrees on the long grind hole. So that hole there is what I use for my spindle gouges. So I set it to 35 degrees on the Pro set, and then I use the long hole to add the 10 degrees on, which gives me a 45 degree long fingernail. Darren Spurgeon, can you sharpen negative rake scrapers easily as I struggle on my whetstone? Yes, Darren, you can sharpen them really easily. I did mention it earlier on, but it won't take me a second to go through that again. Let's just stick that in there. Right, and I'll just slip that back to that one. I don't have any negative rake scrapers, but if I show you this on a normal scraper, right, imagine this is set to the right angle. You do one side, you do one of the bevels with the table at the correct bevel for that, for that bevel, and then change the angle of the table, turn it round and do the other side. And some negative rake scrapers are quite big, so what I'll do is I'll show you my baby scraper. Oh, that one, my little scraper. And this isn't negative rake, but I will show you the principle of it. And then I'll show you the skew once again, as I was asked about that earlier too, and it's only fair that I just go over that again. Right, so imagine this is a negative rake scraper. This angle here is 60 degrees, so just the same as you did on the other one. Make sure that it remains flat to the table. Little bit, if you can just look in the top left hand corner of your screen, you can see the overhead view. Little bit of pressure into the belt and just turn the handle round until you get to the end of the bevel. Oh, just about to knock the camera over then. Right, so that's side one. And then what you would do, Darren, is adjust the table for the other side. Adjust the table for the other side and just repeat the process. Really simple, really simple, really easy. And you may not even need to do the other side, of course. And then the skew, let me show you the skew again. I need to lay the table, lay that down quite far. Which is the top hole, which is that one there. So we're going to use the skew jig, and that goes into the, just tilt that up, that goes into the slot on the table, and then find your skew, lay it against the skew profiler like that, turn the machine on, and then just slide it up. Take it off, turn it over to the other side, slide it up. Obviously make sure that it's all square to the table, and there you've got your bevel, nice and easy. Pull that back up. Okay, right. Well, I hope that answered your question, Darren, and whoever was asking about the skew chisel earlier. Can you do a 55-degree grind with the one-hole jig? Gary Jones, yes you can. Let's just flick back over to the overhead again. Right, so Gary, 55 degrees, yes you can. You can measure here, so here's 45 degrees, here's 50 degrees. If you measure this distance here and then transpose that here, you will get pretty close to a 55 degree bevel. So just line that up like that. I hope you can see that. So just line that up. So just line that up just along that pencil line. Use your standard jig, and then you're good to go. I hope that answers your question there, Gary. Ceramic and zirconium belts, both good. Ceramic slightly more expensive and better for high grits, 240 and above. Yeah, I like the zirconium ones because they're blue. I find they both do a perfectly acceptable job on what they do. The ceramic belts and the zirconium ones. Michael Ruckin, just realised I've been long grinding at 65 degrees when I thought it was 55 degrees. It works for me. Yeah, it does. If you find, you know, I find a lot of turners can be quite pernickety about 45 degrees. No, it doesn't have to be. If it works for you, it works for you. And the great thing about jig systems, not just the ones on the Pro Edge, but also the Wolverine jig and the Tormek jig, is repeatability. So once you have found the angle and the setup that you like, you can use that jig system to repeat that angle every single time. So if you move from say a wheel, just a standard bog standard wheel, and you translate what you've had on the wheel onto the Pro Edge or whatever, you know that you're going to get that angle every single time. Whereas wheels get smaller, the angles change, and the hollow grind that you get on the bevel also changes as well. So the smaller the wheel gets on a wheel grinder, the steeper the angle becomes. Anybody else have any questions at all for me? Oh, let me just scroll down a bit. John Cook, how do you do an oval skew? I don't know, John. I don't have an oval skew, and I very rarely use a skew anyway. But somebody mentioned about an hour ago, you might have to scroll back up, but I think they said that the Robert Sorby YouTube channel has information on how to sharpen an oval skew with the Pro Edge. And don't forget, everybody, this is how I do it. There are lots of different ways, and if you do want to see the comparison between how I do it and how Robert Sorby, the company, suggests you do it, head over to their YouTube channel and you'll be able to see it. So this is how I do it. You're very welcome, Gary. How do you sharpen your Sorby texturing tool? Alistair, that's a very good question. I'm not 100% certain you can, but I might have seen somewhere that shows you how to do it. I find these wheels last ages and ages and ages. So I would probably, I think there is a way that you can do it with a Pro Edge. I've never seen how to do it on a Pro Edge, but next time I'm around anybody from the Robert Sorby company, I will ask and check, because if I can, it will save me buying a new wheel once a year or once every 2 years. Bye Colin, thank you very much. Erlen Steenberg, can you get the 40/40 grind on the bowl gouge with this machine? I've never tried, to be honest. I can do a perfectly adequate push cut using my normal grind. I don't see, the 40/40 grind is exceptionally good, but I don't see that it's the be all and end all. You can do a perfectly acceptable push cut using, well, 45-degree bevel or a 55-degree bevel like I do. Thank you, James. Nice to see you. Cathal Flannery, how long do the diamond belts last, and what advantage do they have over the aluminium oxide belts? Right, okay, Cathal. To give you a very, very simple answer to that, I haven't taken a diamond belt off here for just about 3, maybe 4 years, something like that, and I use it to just put the edge back on the tools. So once I've reground them to the shape that I want using the aluminium oxide belts or the zirconium belts, all I use is the diamond belt to put the edges back on. And as I said, I haven't changed this belt in probably nearly 4 years, something like that. It's over 3, that's for sure. So if you add up all the money that you would spend normally on a 240 belt, or your belts normally that you use to put your edge on, if you add up all that money over a period of time, you might find that actually you've spent more money over that period of time than the cost of a single diamond belt. Thank you, Julian. See you Saturday. Oh, Twisted Trees, you've detailed the 40/40 grind, have you, in the Sorby forum? Can you let me in there if it's a group? Yeah, Paul, I only take the diamond belt off when I'm regrinding or shaping a tool to a new shape. Yeah, if you're interested in the 40/40 grind, check out Stuart Batty's videos on YouTube. There's a really good video, well, there's several really good videos about the 40/40 grind, and he's also got some really good content over on Vimeo too. Super guy. If you don't know who Stuart Batty is, he is the son of the late Alan Batty. He lives and works out in the States now. Oh, it's a public group, is it, James? I think it's James. I hope I didn't get your name wrong. Sorry. Twisted Trees. Oh, it's public, is it? I'll go and have a look. (9:30). It's an early night tonight, and we're nearly done. Lindsay Gardner, you're very welcome. Thank you for joining in this evening. Right, we'll give it a few more minutes for any more questions, and then it'll be time to, well, go to bed really. Go home and see the wife. Oh, I'm so sorry, Pete. I was trying to remember what your excellence in finishing certificate looked like. Just trying to read the name from memory, and I didn't get it. Sorry. Oh, John, thank you very much. No, I'm really pleased you feel that. No, that's great. I'm very happy to go through anything again if anybody wants me to. or otherwise you can always you can use the link to come back to it. The video will be here for 7 days, and then it will be removed from public view, and then in a month's time you'll be able to see it on my website. Well, I've had a ball this evening, everybody. It's been really good. Sorry, sorry it got a little bit. It wasn't exactly particularly smooth towards the beginning of the demonstration, where I lost my track a little bit. But excuse me, there we are. These demonstrations aren't scripted. I've never done a demonstration on the Pro Edge before, so first time for me. Right, so let's just have a look. You're very welcome, Peter. Thank you. Night, James and Roy. Don't forget, the next demonstration is Saturday at 12 o'clock midday. The stream will go. Whoops! The stream will go live at 11:30 on Saturday morning, and it will be about a beginner's bowl. But I'd like to say a big thank you to Mac Coles, JP Woodwork, Colin Ball, Stephen McElliott, Carol, Cut Sand, Wax Admire, thank you Leisure, Tubby Turner, John Mooney, Adam Jackson, and everybody else who has used a super chat this evening to support the channel and for me to put these demonstrations on. Your donations do go some way to the money that, you know, I mean, lots of businesses are losing money at the minute, but they go a lot. Your donations go a long way to actually helping me keep afloat, really. And obviously, I've lost quite a bit, actually, the same as many businesses. So I really do appreciate your support. So, top work, everybody. Thank you very, very much. Let's just come back there. David Hall, see you Saturday. Yep, looking forward to it. Got a really nice piece of cherry to be turning on Saturday afternoon. Ba, ba, ba. We'll leave it a couple more minutes for any more questions, just in case anybody's going to pluck up the courage to type in a comment. Oh, good. Yo, you enjoyed that little hook bit. Thanks, Adam. Stuart, you're very welcome. Stuart Farini. Do. I think I might put my hat back on. It's getting a bit chilly in here now. There we go. It's a little bit more me, isn't it? You're very welcome, Roger. Thanks very much. Wow, Carolyn, that's amazing. Thank you. Oh. Is the Pro Set part of the deluxe kit? Stuart Ingrawill, I'm going to say a tentative yes, but just double check with whoever it is you're going to be buying it from that the Pro Set is included. I can't remember off the top of my head. Oh, sorry, Paul. Fancy doing your reports? No, sorry, I've got a website to keep rebuilding, Paul. Thank you for asking, though. You're very welcome, everybody. Right, I'm going to call that a night. Just want to say a big thank you to all of you for joining in this evening. I really do appreciate seeing you all here and joining in whatever conversation I can jump into, and obviously answering all of your questions. And the next demonstration, as I've said a couple of times, is going to be on Saturday. Stream starts at 11:30 a.m. UK time, and the demonstration starts at midday sharp. Well, sharpish. It will be Saturday after all, and it will be about a beginner's bowl, as I've said before. And I will make sure I use the standard gouge that we reshape today. I will reshape it to my normal 55 degrees though, for the demonstration. But for now, thank you very much indeed. Again, please, all of you, stay safe and well. And well, yes, I think that's about it. I could just waffle on all night. I've had some caffeine this evening, so I'm still buzzing. So if anybody wants to drop me a message or anything via Facebook, then please do. If you want, please do subscribe. The little button's just down here, and if you give the little bell a click as well, you'll receive a notification. Or you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram. I post the information about the demonstrations regularly, and there's the mailing list on my website at msabensmith.com where you will receive the information the day before the demonstration. Thanks very much, everybody. Bye for now. Oh, let's find my buttons. There it is. And cue closing screen. Bye, everybody. Thank you, G-Man.